Welcome to the Minds of Yachtllywood, the podcast. Here we will uncover the stories behind the yachting industry.
And I basically came across biotechnology and the penny just dropped. My dad always said to me, to find your purpose. That I think is challenging, and it's also what makes us Washdown.
I really like your vision. You say we want to grow, but
I think in your head and in my head, I feel like I always knew that it would work out, and I feel like you just have to sometimes blindly trust that vision and follow it.
I'm Sofiana Bergolzi, your host, and now let's dive into the conversation. But first, take a little second and hit the subscribe button. So today we are with Leah Tennant, this beautiful lady who started as on the deck, deck, and now she's the founder of Washdown. Leah, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And so tell me, how was your path, how it has been in yachting? When did you start? And what did you do first? And how that evolved to how it's happening now?
Yeah, of course. So I actually started in the yachting industry when I was 18. So I left school and then I studied to basically become an officer. So I did a course at UKSA when I was at 17, 18. I moved straight out to the south of France and went dog walking. And then I got my first job when I was 18 and I did it until I was 25. So I was, working on deck the whole time. So working on different yachts. I worked on, for example, like Madame Goo and Here Comes the Sun. And then a boat was called Lady S. And then, I left when I was 25. I just wanted a bit of a difference, with regards to my career and where I was wanting to go. And then, I had the idea to start Washdown. I moved back to England and I was working for a charity at the time doing water sanitation programs in Uganda. And I basically came across biotechnology and the penny just dropped.
Oh my God.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot. It was so I moved back when I was 25 and then I was working for the charity Basoga Trust for about a year to 2 years. And I also set up Washdown during that time. So I was set up the company whilst working for the charity that I was working for. So I was trying to manage both of those. And then obviously ended up going part-time and eventually leaving my job at the trust to do Washdown full-time.
Yeah. Okay, but let's go back in time. Rewind. What was your passion when you were small? The yachts, the ocean? Tell me about your...
Yeah. So, I've got a really big family. So I'm one of 7 children. So I've got 4 brothers and then 2 sisters. And my mum and dad have always really brought us up around the sea. So my dad used to be in the forces and then used to do deep sea diving and working on oil rigs at the time. And then we've always just been brought up around the sea and I've always had a passion for it. We used to spend our summers when we were younger, just at the beach, where mum would take us down there at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning and we wouldn't leave until the evening. That's what we would do all summer. And I used to love sailing and doing water sports as a child. And I think wherever I have 4 brothers, I've always been a little bit wild and tomboyish. And I think for me, it just really excites me. I feel like that's where I feel most at home and at peace, is probably at sea. And I think it was just a natural progression then, because I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was leaving school. And that was the one thing. I mean, my dad always said to me, to find your purpose and what excites you and then follow that, whatever that looks like.
I feel my purpose is to be on a yacht. So you started working on yachts, and then what came first? The idea of having Washdown, did you see any needs on the yacht? So you got the idea of Washdown when you were working on board, or first you had this decision of having some projects on startup?
No, so for me, I think it became very apparent when I was on yachts that there was a massive problem around it. And it was something that I would actually raise quite a lot, because when you become, for example, a bosun, or you've been working on a yacht for a longer period of time and you start to actually look at the SDS sheets and the data sheets, for example, like the boat soap we were using, I remember looking at it and it telling us using this on a daily basis causes respiratory issues and cancer. And it's like, for me, that just blows my mind. I was like, how are we using these products and how has nobody done anything about it? And I remember then one of the officers said to me at the time, like, these products have been around for ages. This is just how it is. If someone wanted to change it and could have changed it, then they would have done. And I think for me, I always think, well, just because something's been done like that for that period of time, it doesn't mean that it was right. And then you'd have sustainable products that we would use. But again, for example, they would just take longer to use, or they were sustainable, but actually using them on a daily basis made our lives a lot harder. So you'd always go back to using the chemical products.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I always wanted to start my own business and I always wanted to make a positive impact. And I had the idea then, but I didn't know how, one, I would develop products like that, or two, where I'd even begin. And then when I obviously moved home about a year later, I just started to look into different like options and biotechnology, and it was actually used originally in like water sanitation that we were doing to basically cleanse the water and basically the toxic products out of the water. And that's when the kind of both of them just clicked together. And I thought, if you were to do this on a yacht, it would work perfectly. And then I just started to research it and look into it more. And then, we developed our own products. I worked with the bioscientists to do that. And then the rest is history, really. It's where we are now.
So super interesting, because you have three views, let's say, from the yachting, then from this, sensitivity to the nature and maybe to health, and then the scientific view, and kind of need to have these three different perspectives. How does it work?
Exactly. And I think that's the one thing that I think is challenging, and it's also what makes us Washdown. And I think because of my love for the environment and the fact that my grandma used to always say to us, you should always leave a place better than you found it. And I think that side of it has always stuck with me. And I think actually the responsibility of, if you are bringing a product out, it should be looking after the people that are purchasing it and not giving them, like, making them ill or sacrificing them or the environment. And I think for us, we've really stuck with those 3 points, is that we want it to be better for the environment, that even though sometimes it may cost a little bit more, that we always want to put the most natural products in, and we go out of our way to do the research to do that. And then I think it's all goes round in like a full circle, because I think we're doing something that's actually adding value and we're protecting the environment. And I think from that, it's really helped us, I think, with the development of the company. And it's also given me a clearer vision with where we want to go with the company and what we're doing, because I will never sacrifice any of those 3 points.
Amazing. That's incredible. And do you think that your products, in terms of benefits, let's say profitability for the yachts using it, what benefits do they bring? So
it's actually cheaper. So because we've made them all concentrated products, so you buy it in a 1 litre, and then that dilutes to make 50 spray bottles. Oh. So it works out about £1.50 a spray bottle. So it's actually a lot cheaper. With your standard detailing products are normally about £12 to £13 per single use bottle. So we've really tried as well, because that's the other thing, I think, and the stigma that comes with eco-friendly products is that it's either more expensive, or it doesn't work, or that they're more difficult to use. And that's why with the development process of everything that we've done, with the price point, we've made it lower than what we could sell it for. And also with the performance, we actually worked with super yacht crew whilst we were developing it. So just simple things that you wouldn't really understand unless you worked on a yacht. Yeah. Like the amount of time you spend buffing out windows or removing watermarks and double checking everything. Everything we've done is to eliminate that process and to take the stress away from the user as well as the environment.
So it sounds to me like really a challenge to be able to produce these products with the same strength that other chemicals will do. How was the process to find these partners to develop this technology?
Of course. So we work with a bioscientist. So one of my brothers, who actually has another company that makes sea salt from the sea, funnily enough, one of his good friends was a bioscientist. So I asked her for advice at the start, and then we've basically gone back and forth with her because obviously I've not got a background in science. So it's been a big learning process, and also looking at like the raw materials that we're putting into the products and the ingredients, how they react together. And then with the biotech side, it's like the enzymes and the bacteria, which makes it a lot stronger. And it's the formulations and how we do all of that side of it that makes the products what they are and how powerful they are. And obviously like the vigorous testing process, because we won't do things or release products that we're not completely happy with. So like, for example, like the streak-free technology and things like that.
And speaking a little bit about these partnerships, how has been your path finding different partners in the industry, let's say with shipyards? I know you're now, I don't know if I can you want to share with me this big that you are.
No, of course. So I think with regards to partnerships and that, obviously it's really difficult because especially as a new product on the market, for people that have been around for a long time, where you have big companies like Noble or your typical chemical cleaner products that have been there for years and years and years, longer than I've been alive, it's hard to obviously get that trust. But then I think we do work with some amazing partners. And for example, like MB92, they've been really supportive. And I think they're incredible when it comes to innovation and the ecological impact of what they're doing. And so we started working with shipyards like that. And there's a few others that we'll be working with shortly. So I think it's once you get the trust process, and it's also with the products, because of the standards that they are and the fact that we're consistent in the solution, the fact that that's completely environmentally friendly, the packaging and the performance. And I think they've struggled to find products that have had all three of those boxes. And I think it's also been incredible to have the support of people like NB92, because it really like fulfills what you're trying to do. And as like a deckhand before, we spent a lot of time there. So I think for me, it was a really, really amazing opportunity. And I think that was a really good accomplishment for us.
And do you feel it's been difficult to gain credibility on the quality of your product? I don't know, maybe if it works so well, how, you know what I mean?
No, of course. And we have it, I think for us, we have a lot of the time where they're like, oh, it's another eco-friendly cleaning product. So I think when you first speak to someone, it kind of gets brushed off a little bit. And I think once they've actually used the products, or for example, another big one for us is with the data sheets, because of greenwashing. A lot of people claim that they're sustainable. Yeah. And then when you actually look at the data sheets, it says not safe for release into environment, or VOC, no data available. Whereas with all of our SDS sheets, we spent a lot of time doing that and everything that was going into them so that it reads exactly what we say and what we advertise. And I think because of that, that's given us that credibility.
Yeah. I mean, I can just imagine all the pollution that goes in the ocean.
Yeah.
When you are using chemical products, but not only out to the nature, but you mentioned at the beginning health and particles you're breathing and the contact with the chemical. So talk to me more about that. What's the difference? What difference?
Of course. So we're actually launching a campaign at the minute, which we launched last month, to raise awareness about VOCs. And that stands for volatile organic compounds. So you find those in your standard cleaning products. And they're a really toxic chemical that basically will evaporate at room temperature. So you're breathing it in, and then obviously the residue of that also will go into the water. And it's one of the top 5 most hazardous the most top 5 hazardous products, and also has the most detrimental effect on the environment. So when you're using those products on a daily basis, there's a study that shows it's actually the same as smoking 20 cigarettes a day in a commercial setting. And then also it's one of the biggest contributors to ocean suffocation.
Oh, insane. Especially, okay, the gas is one thing, but they are not there all the time, but the crew who is in contact with this in such a close way, at some point, do you feel there will be some regulations for this kind?
I feel like this is what we'd really love to see. And I think for us, again, why we're trying to do the VOC campaign is to raise awareness of it and actually educate people on it, because a lot of people aren't aware of that. And I do think that the regulations should change. And that's also something that we're really trying hard now with this campaign to get petitions to lobby against, so that we can actually change the culture. Because you wouldn't sit here and ask, for example, a crew to smoke 20 cigarettes a day, and if they refused, you wouldn't fire them. And it's exactly the same as refusing to use hazardous products on a daily basis.
Exactly. I think at some point it's all about honesty, right? I think when you are signing up for a certain job, you need to be aware of the risks. And you mentioned cancer and this type of sickness, that you need to be aware that you are more prone to.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly as well what we're trying to do now. So we work with, for example, UKSA, where I originally studied at. We've actually just sponsored a couple of the guys' flights that were flying out to get their first jobs. But a lot of what we do with them and Green Crew is actually educating them so that they're aware of those things. And you're actually coming on board with knowledge about what you're, because a lot of the time when you first start, for example, at me, like I was 18, and it's very overwhelming. You're working on a super yacht for the first time. You've just moved abroad, and you almost, if they clean in with this, then nobody's going to challenge it. Whereas I think the more that you can educate people actually and raise awareness from it for the Green Crew, the officers and the chief stewardesses, is the more and more the culture will change. And obviously making products available that they can use instead.
Yeah. Where are your products available? I don't want to be very silly, but it's easy for people to acquire?
Yeah, so we sell a lot of them online, and we also sell through global services and then a couple of other partners. But normally if they just email, we normally get our B2B emails or like commercial orders from yachts. They email us through, and then we can have the products delivered throughout Europe within 2 days.
Okay. And another question about when we go on board, we see a lot of natural materials, stone, wool for the carpets. And how is that related to the use of products? Do they keep up with the materials better than chemicals?
Yeah, so this is the other thing. So obviously there's, like you said, there's lots of raw material, like products like marble, and all of our products, we've designed them so they're all pH neutral. So that it means that it won't deteriorate basically the surface layer, because if you're using harsh products on marble, it tarnishes it. And it's the same as, for example, on paint, like paint types and paint coatings. If you're using products that are acidic or aren't pH neutral, it tarnishes that. So then it affects the paint jobs and the longevity of the paint, and again for the materials and the raw materials on board. So all of our products have been designed to take care of that and to look after them and preserve them.
Mm-hmm. How has it been for you to take this risk and this step?
It's been scary, I'd say, and it's been a massive learning curve, but I wouldn't change it for the world. And I believe that if you have a vision for something and you truly believe that wholeheartedly and you have the determination to go after it and do it, I think that you will make it happen. And I think for me, it's been difficult with regards to getting the right people around you, or, for example, learning about investment and learning how to scale a company, and just doing lots of things that I've never done before and having to learn how to do those things. And I think, it's definitely been a journey, and it's an exciting journey. It's tough, but it's exciting. I'm also really excited to see what we can do and the impact that we'll be able to make with it.
And what perception do you feel that the people working on board the yachts, the crew, what perception they have of you?
I think something that we actually get recognition a lot for, and is actually what's been super nice recently, is a lot of crew have actually, when we've either seen them at events, they've actually come up to us and said, I think it's amazing what you're doing. And I think a lot of crew also that are wanting to get out of yachting, it's really scary. And because a lot of them have been in that for a long period, and to make that jump to a job back home where there's a massive, obviously, salary cut as well, or they're wanting to set up a company but don't quite know how to start, and they're very comfortable in the situation they're in, women, I think a lot of them struggle with that. So I think we get a lot of support from that side of it. And also we like to work with crew. So we have like some crew or people that we know that have started up companies now that we really like to promote and work with on that side as well.
Yeah, I feel like being on board, it can feel for them like a safe place.
Yeah, of course.
Home.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's home away from home and going back home. And it must be shocking. But not only that, but just the risk of being an entrepreneur and start your own project, right?
Massively. And I think that is the scariest part. And obviously I was working at the time like a full-time job, but then it's trying to balance that. And then again, it's so scary because you put so much energy and money and finances into it. And I did it by myself. So I was like single whilst I was doing it. So there was times where I was renting, like last summer, for example, like renting my house out back in England so that I could come over here, where I was trying to juggle like another part-time job and then show up and been developing the products and doing everything else. So it is scary. But I think in your head and in my head, I feel like I always knew that it would work out. And I feel like you just have to sometimes like blindly trust that vision and follow it.
I want to ask a question. Maybe this one is a little risky, but I want to go ahead. How has it been? Pretty being in this ocean of men. Because, okay, I think from my perspective, from my angle, I just do something which aligns with being a woman, right? Like something very entertaining, soft, looks like easy and fun. But for you, it's tough because you're bringing a conviction and a vision that it can be very for them. How does
I think being a woman, it's tough. And I do think it's, especially because of I'd say my age, and typically a lot of people that we are dealing with or working with are men that have been in the game for a very long time, and it challenges that perception of it. I was actually talking to my mentor about it earlier because we had some things going on with manufacturers and a couple of other situations with clients. And I think it's that side of it of people sometimes taking you seriously. And I feel like sometimes as a woman, you're not taken as seriously, but then it's your consistency and showing up. And I think you do have to work harder than I would say some men do. But then on the other hand, there is a lot of really decent guys that would do anything and completely understand that and would bend over backwards to help you out and really push you and support you. So I think there's a balance, but I do think, you have to be very strong. And I think it's definitely taught me to be confident in myself and to back myself. Yeah.
And I really appreciate initiatives like yours because I feel we are in such a traditional industry. We need this more to be disruptive and bring some innovation and a fresh point of view. And kind of we need to be strong at this point.
Definitely. And I think, like you say, it's all about bringing innovation and new ideas. And I think whether it's like a woman like myself bringing that or a guy bringing that to the table, I just think that we should support that. And I think that that's something for me going forward as a woman that's actually gone through what we've gone through with growing the company and scaling it. I would love to be able to help other women do the same. And I'd love to grow Washdown to a point where we can actually invest in other companies and do that.
That's beautiful. So what's the advice that you would give to crew members to, when they have an idea of innovation and they are afraid to do so? What would you tell them?
I would tell them to take the risk and to back yourself. And I think, would you rather look back in 20 years' time thinking I could have done this or I could have done that? Or would you rather look back in 20 years' time and say, at least I gave it a chance, and if it failed, it failed, worst case scenario? Or you're in an amazing situation where you've actually made a big impact and you've done what's made you happy?
Definitely. Ava, last question. Can you give me a bit of what's going to happen with Washdown project? Do you have, what's the big, because I see girl, and I see there's so much going on there.
So I think originally, obviously, we were just targeting the marine industry, but we're now also wanting to go into like luxury hospitality, like F1 and the automotive markets, and just expanding globally. Like I'm really interested in what's happening in the Middle East, and I'm really excited to be working over there. And also, I've just moved to Monaco, so it's exciting to see how we can grow the company here. But yeah, I think we just want to grow it as much as possible, make as much of an impact as possible, and I just think the sky's the limit.
I really like your vision. You say we want to grow, but we want to make an impact. We want to make a change. That's the most important.
Exactly, yeah, 100%. And I think for us as a company, we just want to be in a position where we can make a big impact and that we can also support other people to do the same.
That's beautiful. Leah, thank you very much. It was really valuable to listen to the podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
No, I admire you so much, and I look forward to see what's happening next.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for joining us today in the Minds of Yachtllywood, the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe for more exciting episodes with incredible guests. Until next time.